Okay, so what we're covering today, and for those that aren't fully caught up, jumping in at a random spot, like it's okay. There's basically, five, I call them steps, but like five phases of the, you know, coaching style and program that I have to essentially mainstay like framework foundation of the business, but really like the tools that we need for our business to operate with at all times. I've broken it down into five, you know, five stages or phases or steps of releasing these tools that you need for your business at all times. So far we've covered, essentially goals and why they're important to you and the income that you need in order to fund those goals. We've covered the economic model, which is that model showing you, okay, if you have a goal of selling 10 homes this year to fund the income that you need for your life, here's how many deals you need to get under contract in order to close those 10. Here's how many people you need to be working with in order to get them under contract. Here's how many appointments you need to go on. Here's how many conversations you need to have those appointments play out. We've covered database and pipeline and systems, and those are probably some of the more like tangible, actual tools that um, you can use for your business. And last time we covered plans, so annual plans, weekly plans, and a growth plan for what you need to learn. The last stage of it comes down to like, I call it the business ownership side of things, and really like having elements for you as a business owner to be in a position where, you know, effectively you are an official business owner. Okay, if you want to think of it that way. And a couple of things that come to mind would be a profit and loss statement for your business, to develop one and maintain one and keep it at all times. And that just segues into like just all the financial aspects for your business that, will evolve from here. But to start thinking of this right now, because, here's the reality. Like, if you're a brand new agent, you haven't sold a home yet, that's okay. You're here to sell a lot of homes and to make a lot of money. And you're going to need to manage that money effectively. And ultimately, listen, you need to play the game of paying the government as little as possible, paying Uncle Sam as little as possible, and keeping as much for yourself as possible. So that, we get into the financial side of where we're talking about, accountants and CPAs and financial planners and things of that nature. Like that's what you're going to evolve to as a new agent or somewhere in this program, to where you're gonna, you're here to be successful, and you're going to need people helping you at a professional level with your money as a business owner. Okay? Another important part of being a business owner would be your organization chart. We call it your organizational chart, I should say, which is the, the positions that you have for your business that work, as part of your business to, feed the overall goal. Now, I want you to think of this as, even as an individual agent at whatever level, you may not be looking to hire anybody formally. You still have an organizational chart for you and your individual business that you need to treat appropriately. So who has any guess as to what I'm talking about? To where it's like you're all solo agents. No offense, but you're all, in this program where you're getting your business launched, right? So you're not in a position to hire anybody yet, right? So that's the no offense part. That's okay. There's a progression to this. So who would be on your organizational chart for you as an individual agent of business? I like where you're going with it, but not quite. Think of the people that are going to help you. That those are your clients. Those are different than the people that like work for you. There you go. Now you're talking. Right. So those are two of the bigger ones: a lender and an attorney for your business. I'm going to stay on that topic for a minute because this, I can explain the importance of this aspect and give you the perspective that you need, that you may not have as a new agent yet, is that Lenders and attorneys, you're their clients as an agent. They get business from the person that's representing the end buyer or seller, right? And therefore, you become the conduit to that because in this market that we're in locally, I mean, sure, some people just walk into a bank or start buying process with the lender. That is possible. Very few do it with an attorney, right? And like contact an attorney. Hey, I know I'm going to need you for my real estate transaction. What realtor do you like working best with? Don't get me wrong, that can happen. But yes, it's more common that um the lender side of things may collect some more like initial inquiries into the process. But generally speaking, if we're doing our job with our people, those people are going to be trained to come to us anytime they need something in real estate. And then we're the ones that they could matchmaker with, hey, I really think you should talk with ABC Lending. They're the best. I work closely with them. I trust them. And I really think you should use, Johnny Law, ESQ. I do a lot of closings with them, and my clients love them. And you should try them out if you don't have anybody else. That's how the business goes. So the lender and the attorney that you choose becomes integral to your business. And you've got to approach this where, have fun with this, right? Because treat this as like you're interviewing them for the position to work for you in your company of your real estate business that and all the clients you're going to help. So some people will just hire a new agent and brush you off type of thing. Not here to solve the problems of humanity or anything, right? But it's just like, recognize who you want to work with and or I should say, recognize like the characteristics and the traits, the behavior of people that you want to work with and go out and find them. And if they don't adhere to your standards, on to the next. Don't feel like you're in a position where you have to, oh, thank you so much for wanting to work with me as a new agent. Be like in this more confident position where it's like, no, like, are you willing to work under my terms? Now, there's a balance here because you have plenty to learn from these individuals as well. Point being is just like understand this notion of like they're working for you. They need the clients, you have them. So treat that effectively and make sure that at minimum you're in a professional relationship that's gonna, benefit your clients, meaning they're able to get them to the finish line effectively and providing a great experience as well. But from there, as your business gets going, it can really get down to like, what have you done for me lately? I see I sent you 10 deals last year. I didn't even get a fruitcake in the mail during the holidays. What's going on here? But you know, don't also get enamored by all the free stuff that these banks and attorneys can give you. Like, really focus in on we need to work together in partnership in tandem to, help my clients and treat it as like you're interviewing the people to find those relationships to start and make sure that you're, it's a mindset shift, right? Because I get it. It's like anybody who picks up the phone, you'll be happy at this point, right? But like it's, there's plenty of good people out there that will, you know, adhere to what I'm talking about. There's also plenty of people that like, kind of trust your gut and take a hint when needed, right? Questions on that so far? The lender and the attorney are really key. What other positions could you have on your organization chart for your company or your individual real estate sales business? Mhm. But I mean, yes. Here's why. Here's why I hem and haw at that. An appraiser in the real estate transaction is going to be hired by the buyer's lender, so you won't have anything to do with it. But it's good to have an appraiser in your, you know, phone that you can contact for two reasons. One, some clients may just want like or need an appraisal, like officially from an appraiser, right? So there could be a potential divorce type situation where the lawyers are saying, hey, go get an appraisal done and come back to us with that value. So they may call you first, be like, I need an appraisal done in my house. Can you help me? It's like, okay, tell me more. Should be your response to that because like sometimes people are looking for an appraisal just to know what the market value is, and you could do that. If you find, you know, hey, tell me more, and they're like, me and Jane might be getting divorced. Okay, got it. Sorry to hear. You need an appraiser because it's court ordered type of thing, or lawyers are involved telling you to get one. Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah. At that point, you can't help them with market value. They need an official report. Another reason why an appraiser becomes an important contact, um, they have, you know, that part of an appraisal is to measure the home, like the square footage of it and the outside. When you're if you have a difference in square footage from what's in Realist for a house that you're listing, and you know that there was an addition that was never added on, you'll want to get an appraiser to come out and measure it. Not do an appraisal, but just to measure it, sketch it out. And then you have this like official document to attach to the listing to justify the square footage increase from what's in Realist. So we got lender, attorney. Lauren mentioned contractors, right? So like vendors and contractors for home repairs and improvements. That's a really good one. Okay, now you've got, you know, now you've got lead generation as a topic tied into this. Because if you have um, people in your database, in your sphere that are in other lines of business, even if it's not contracting for home repairs, but like, how can you find a way to know what their business is so that you can then go out and say you're going to support it and do things to support it? What do you think is going to happen if that's happening? They see you supporting their business, chances are they're going to want to reciprocate. Now, contractors for home repairs, especially, like, you know, that becomes a good one. And that's one, I hate saying it, but you almost want to be teed up to where um, you have a really big list because sometimes they're hot and sometimes they're cold, right? If you just have one, that's my guy, and he's booked out for 6 months, probably doesn't do the person that's calling you asking for a contractor or that type of opportunity doesn't do too good. Now you have, you know, if you have the ability to go down a list and telling your potential client or your friend, family member, whatever, like, hey, I've got a whole list of people. Let me call and see who's going to take my call to say, yeah, no, I'm available. I could use the work or whatever, and have them call me. Let me at least do that vetting for you. In the meantime, just understand that you're lead generating while doing that. Because who's to say that they have a realtor that they work closely with to where they're in all these houses and recognizing, you know, they're doing upgrades in order to sell. You gotta call my girl Lauren, she'll take care of it. Could be how you train that person or what they do after, you know, referring them business. Business is reciprocal, right? Like it's not about anything unethical or anything like that. It's just that's how the world works to where it's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, right? So when you just lead generate to the sense of, hey, I want to build out a list of um, servicers and vendors and contractors that I could refer to my clients, that in itself goes a long way. Well, you can't take in money. You don't need to. The question is, can you know referrals be exchanged, you know, for you know between real estate agents and you know other businesses? And I think the answer is not totally no, but I think I'm gonna have you be in the mindset that it is no for two reasons. One, it becomes an in-depth look at like, is this compliant or am I doing something fraudulent with the IRS or tax code or anything like that, or potential not necessarily antitrust, but just that whole world that you open yourself up to, right? Two, you don't need like you don't need to pay for the business because just as I said, like this human nature of being reciprocal type of thing, it plays out. If you have an opportunity for somebody to help, they're going to turn around and help you the next time. Most good relationships play out that way. So don't feel like you need to be in a position where it's like, thanks for the business, here's the kickback. Because most people operate in a manner where it's just like, I just want you to take care of it. Like I get that a lot from vendors that are trying to work with me, and I like, great that you have this program, and sure, I'll sign up for the points to get the gift card eventually to whatever. But like, I just want you to take good care of it. That's all.
What if you already said it?
What's that?
What if you already said it?
Said what?
That I would say.
See if they perform to it and walk down that bridge when you get there, I guess would be my advice. Yeah. Does that make sense though? Confident around that or feel like you need to have the carrot dangling, so to speak? Yep, cool. What other positions on an organization chart for your individual business would you need to have? So lender, attorneys, appraiser, contractors, or
Inspector.
photographers. Yep. So photographer for your listings is key. And this is the stuff like you don't want to have this teed up now. Because if you get a call to go on a listing appointment tomorrow and convert it, and they want to be on the market at the end of the week, and you don't have any sign install guy, photographer, any way to get that listing live, you're in a tough spot. Scramble. You don't want to have to make that call back to them like, yeah, I don't really have anything in order yet. We're gonna have to do next week instead. Is that okay? No, it's not okay because 4th of July. So
What if I know two photographers, but they're not like necessarily.
Call. Well, they generate. Call them up, see if they do real estate because they may.
Well, one wanted to,
Okay.
but I'm saying
Like from quality.
yeah.
I would have them. I would have them. I'm sure they live in a house somewhere or live somewhere, right? Like have them send you some sample of their work. I think that's pretty common in their field, right? So it's like, just treat it as an interview. They shouldn't be offended by it. You're taking your business seriously, and before I refer a non-real estate photographer to my clients, I want to make sure that your real estate photos will be adequate. But if they don't do real estate and you have photographers that lead generate to the opportunity, like, hey, is that ever something you thought about or would be interested in? Or who do you know that I should be? Because I'm sure they have connections, right? But again, you're talking about your business with them and make sure that they land in your database so you can do that continually from there. Because maybe you hire them to host we do this every fall. We have a fall family photo event. Maybe you're hiring that person in your database for that event. And then they're going to want to reciprocate after that. Good one, though. Listing photographer. Stay on the listing side of it. I mentioned a few in that rant. Have somebody install your signs. Don't go buy the sign yourself. Find a way to get it out there if you don't have a truck. Sweat in this heat trying to install it. It's probably going to end up crooked anyway. Hire it out. You need the signs themselves. And having sign panels made. What else? done listings. We've done lenders, attorneys. We're missing a big one. You need in order to close. It's going to become a lot of times part of your monthly payment.
Home insurance? I don't know.
You got it.
Oh.
Insurance. Yep. Have that connection. Somebody that you can trust that's willing to, spend time with clients, because this is where it can be, insurance is kind of, I don't know, it's an interesting industry, I guess I'll say, to leave it at that, but insurance is one of these things where you can have, the cheapest coverage possible and probably not be properly insured, to where when you actually want to use that insurance, you're going to find out it's all this hassle and you're not covered potentially, or covered for what you really need. And then you're kind of kicking yourself, wishing you had paid more along the way. Or you could pay for, the Cadillac of policies and never use it. And in theory, a whole bunch of money wasted. In theory, right? If you have that top end quality policy and you need to use it, you're pretty happy. So it's kind of a balancing effect, right? I would have an insurance rep that you're comfortable with. And again, this is an interview process. Like I would want to speak to somebody in the matter of like, hey, what would you do? Like, how insurance works. What are you insured for? That's the best way to go about it, right? Because knowing what the person in the industry does versus what they're selling becomes key. I would, start to think of your business in a manner of what could be leveraged, what should be leveraged along the way once you're growing and you're building a bigger business. And to give you, kind of examples of what that looks like for, for my team that I own, we do, arrogantly speaking, a lot of business. We have employees in the marketing side of the business, the transaction coordination side of the business, the listing side of the business, and then just kind of a director of operations, like project based and customized type of stuff. So yeah, you're gonna, not leverage right now because you are getting things going, but think of how to set up leverage for yourself in transaction processing, marketing, and the listings that you're gonna do. But make sure that you think of your business as like, I need all these key positions in my world, like on day one right now. So what people, what tools, what systems do I need to use as leverage in order to, be a business owner officially? Because when you're using all these tools as a full package that, we've now run through, at least at an introductory level, we're going to come back to them each week, one step at a time from here to make sure that they don't go stale. Now in total, when you're, developing that suite of tools, like, you're a business owner. Up until then, you're entrepreneur. Hustle. There's a difference. This becomes a key piece to the difference. I don't want to spend too much time on the financial, stuff that goes with this topic. I will say, have a very early habit of running your own profit and loss statement. Simply put, income minus expenses equals profit, right? It's going to be easy enough to track your income. And you can create ways to where tracking your expenses becomes quote unquote easy as well. I would strongly recommend that you just start a separate bank account for your business and leave business and personal life totally separate financially. So this way, anytime you have to spend money, it's coming from this account. And then that way, on a monthly basis, you can just reconcile that account and have a rolling profit and loss statement month after month based on one account and not having to like go through the one account for your life and like, well, that was Taco Bell at midnight versus business dinner 4 hours before that. And trying to figure out what's, expendable for the business and what's not. But then, when you're, ready to file taxes next year, when your business is going, especially, you're gonna want to have professional help with that.
No, write-offs, like,
hmm
what is considered a write-off for your business?
I mean, really so first of all, I have to do a CYA statement to say I'm not an accountant, seek professional help, okay? With that said, comfortable on the topic. So, write-off for your business really comes down to any expense for your business. Okay? So, for example, Supra fee for e-key access of $18 a month or whatever. It's a write-off. Your dues. Technically, portions of your dues are not write-off. Technically speaking, if business is discussed at that dinner, then 50% of meals are write-offs. So you gotta be careful. You don't want to throw up any red flags. So for example, if you've made $50,000 in a year and have $47,000 in the form of business meals and entertainment write-off, probably a red flag. You'd be, funny, but you'd be surprised at the things that people try to pull off. So I mean, kind of the way to think of how the IRS works is just like everything these days, system based and AI and algorithms and all that, right? Like if there's a red flag to your return, it's going to get shot up and then they're going to dive deeper. Sign install, all these things that we make, listing photos, all write-offs. Mileage, so track your mileage. Um, marketing, advertising. You bring cookies, they buy Wegmans for an open house.
Oh, you said-
There's so many apps out there. I mean, so great question. The way I'm going to answer this question is that, well, first of all, I'm just going to refer to audit as the A word from here, so that we're saying it less and less and putting it out there less in the universe. Okay. But you want to avoid having to get into the A word situation. And therefore, back to like, don't put the red flags on. If you are in a situation where you're getting A worded, they're coming to your house and telling you to pull out all your records. Literally is how it goes. Okay. So I'll answer that question as to set yourself up however you want to set yourself up. That's easy and sustainable for you to track this stuff, but then also becomes easy for you to tell a story if that were to ever happen. And you're not having to not have things or make up things. So there's a ton of apps that are free. You can go, full on and get paid versions as well. That I guess in theory would be that much better. You could just set yourself up with say on Sunday night you get a email that goes to you once a week to log your miles, and you go back and see where you left off last week and here we're at this week, and okay, I can kind of calculate the non-business miles that I did this week and back out of it that way. You can literally be, on these app and tracking trip by trip. It picks up as you're driving and does it for you. So just have a system. I mean, I don't, I don't think there's just anywhere near just one way to do it. The kind of user preference. Questions?
Can we go back to one thing? I just have
Yeah,
a question. Um, so you were talking about having an appraisal on hand in the case of, like ordered for a divorce,
Hmm.
right? Is that I didn't misunderstand that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So here's my question, because these are real life examples. I'm actually in it right now, and for somebody who's never done it, it's pretty intimidating. So I'm dealing with that right now in a divorce situation, but the people who are getting a divorce approached me and asked me what market value of their house is. And
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, okay, right. So here's the CMA, like this is what we could list it for. This is probably around the top range that you could sell it for." So I'm going based on what they're asking me. And I guess
Mhm.
we need to know what they're really getting at. So we need to know the better questions to ask. And I guess this goes for whether it's an appraiser that we need or, whatever situation, a contractor, whatever. Um, Simply because now there's, I guess they had a HELOC like last year, and the the HELOC person did a desk appraisal and appraised it for $30,000 more than what I think it could sell for. And
Okay.
so the person that has to pay the buyout is going to be pissed if they have to go by the HELOC, and the person that's receiving the money is going to want to go by the HELOC and not the market value. But their approach to me was inaccurate. They said to me, "What is the market value? What could I, if you were going to list my house, what do you think you could sell it for?" That's completely different than an appraised value. So I guess knowing our terminology, right? So as we're building up our arsenal with people we know, be able to differentiate and tell our clients to the difference in what we need, right?
No, I love that concept in the sense of like you've got to be able to feel out the situation and yeah, know where to go next. Right.
Because
So that's
as you're,
not
yeah,
always going to come just off the top of your head. And that's, the benefit to being in this program is you have the resources to help you take the next step and help you find out what to say. But, yeah, I mean, in that example that you gave, Shannon, that, I would ask just, okay, tell me where you're at in terms of the next step that you're taking and want to make sure that you're getting the right information for you, because there's a difference between, say, appraised value and market
so what I did is, as you were just talking, I went back to my people and I said, "Look, here's the difference." I did some digging, blah blah blah. And it's funny because I was going to ask about this anyways, at the end of the call, but you were talking about it
value.
now. Just because I told them that they were going to have to go back to their mediator and try to clarify exactly what it is that they need. And a desktop appraiser is different than a physical person coming in, and my numbers are my numbers and I'm sticking to my numbers, but they're probably not even what they're looking for. So go back and do your due diligence is what I'm telling my
Yeah.
clients, right? Because they're the ones that are going to have to come up with the money. um but I
Well, you're
think
doing them a
there's,
service too, to where you're saying, hey, I want to make sure that you're taking the appropriate next step that you need to be taking versus, you know, thinking you're taking the step and then having to backtrack, right? Because
yeah,
they may, if they were asking the right questions to their legal team, I assume is where they're at, they would probably find out like, no, you need an appraisal from an appraiser that visited the home in person. Maybe
yeah,
how refined it gets, right? And they may just,
yeah,
because they may have been told something in effect of, okay, you have an asset of a home, we need to know what it's worth, and there so that we know how to divvy it up from here. And they may have heard that as like, okay, let me contact my realtor Shannon, who's awesome, and she'll tell us what the home is worth. Because it's not, even though they're attorneys, they may not be giving specific detailed instruction like, an easy to follow guide.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely one of those situations where I wasn't informed of like the corrected conversation from the beginning. And I don't mind, like, I'd rather be wrong and correct my mistake. But I
Sure.
had to figure out that I made the error simply because they didn't tell me the right information. And so I've been trying to get them to do the right things, but I think again, it just plays into our conversations and it does affect our, the people that we know and the right conversations to have, questions to ask, I guess. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought maybe it was a good lead into like why we need these people and how quickly we need them.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Thank
Nobody
you.
wants to wait for a divorce to happen. They're all like, let's just be done already.
All right. All right, I'm going to segue to another topic of social media. Probably be a breath of fresh air for a lot of people because there's, especially with KW, I think it's important to understand that we're a company of models and systems. Okay. And it's awesome. Understand that any model is based on the past, right? So for the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book as a guide to all the models and systems, or at least some of them that we have access to, that book was written in, I think, 2003 or one, somewhere around there. So long time ago in the past. Now, there's still foundational models in there. All of the models are foundational for the business itself. I can't think of anything that really is like, rapidly evolved to where it's like, nah, that needs to be not relevant anymore. Omit that moving forward. But the, kind of what comes down to the nitty gritty of the business itself has evolved very much so since 2003. I mean, there wasn't internet on your phone back then, hardly, or at all. Yeah, I don't think so. Right? So, like, the world has changed and consumer behavior has changed. And I had like this epiphany last week as to why I want to kind of lead into this topic today. That I read this article, I found it somewhere, but with LinkedIn data, they're calling it social selling. So using social media in your sales business, right? Data shows that social selling is making an impact. According to LinkedIn research, 78% of social sellers are outselling their peers who don't use social media. Among leaders, 51% are more likely to reach their sales quotas. The way of the world has very much evolved to where this has become a primary aspect of people's life when it comes to communication and just entertainment in terms of like, call it screen time, right? Whereas, 30 years ago, the screen time was different than it is now. Like, I feel like this day and age, people have more screen time with their phones than they do their TVs, right? So that kind of paradigm of sorts has shifted. So you have this opportunity to really, placate to that to the advantage of your business. And also, especially to the advantage of like if you're already doing it anyway in terms of spending time scrolling through stuff on social media, it's okay. Right? We're all guilty. It's all right. It's not a bad thing. The point is to use it effectively. I really had this epiphany because I read this article and then I saw Gary Keller and Mel Robbins just did a podcast, a millionaire real estate agent podcast, and they came out with this playbook that was released. Everybody should have got an email to it. But one of the points on it was let go of people's opinion and get on social media. Mel calls it the let them theory. Let them judge. Let them criticize your sweater or hate on your open house selfie. You can't manipulate others' thoughts anyway. So this coming from Gary Keller, whereas the kind of old adage and verbiage, so to speak, has been call, make your calls, lead generate, by two-way communication with people, call again, right? Like I'm feeling a, shift and or a support of, new school combined with old school models. Now, I'm gonna stop right here to say, like, I am not telling you, like, don't worry, you don't need to call people. Or don't worry, you don't need to personally communicate with people and you can go all in on social media. I am telling you that you do need to be in on social media as well. So you need to do both. You need to find a way to have personal connections play out in your business in a live, like two-way communication type of method, whether it's, that last where I gave a kind of like, who are you taking out to lunch this week? How many cups of coffee you're going to buy for people in your database this year, stuff like that. Like just, getting in front of people eye to eye, right? And then getting in front of people from a live communication standard, whether it's, calling or Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. And then all the texting and stuff is like, that's, how things have evolved. And now we're in this social media, notion of things evolving as well that you need to take advantage of. So, I'm saying this now because I can feel that we're going to be more and more, shifting towards that side of the business. And I do want to, like, still lead generation based, marketing enhanced. Social media just plays this kind of unique opportunity where it's both like marketing and lead generation capabilities. So take advantage of it. What again, I'm not saying like, hey, I don't want you to hear this as a breath of fresh air to where it's like, oh, good, I don't have to pick up my phone and call or text anybody anymore. Or I don't have to be out in public meeting people in person. No, you do. It's just if you do both, the data is starting to show that you're going to outperform the competition. And, could be very much without social media, do you not reach your goals as a result? This day and age, I would say, yeah. If you do reach your goals without it, then it's like, man, what could be if you were active on those platforms as well? So,
Oh, Jason,
Yep.
can I ask a question since since we're right here?
Yep.
With the calls, right?
Yeah.
So I saw the report on somebody filing the
Yeah.
TCPA, right? As a new
Yep.
agent, I want to make sure that does not happen to me.
Sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
like, so I think about sometimes my database, there's people in there that I may have their numbers. Should I be looking up those numbers on the no call list before I reach out?
I think if you have a personal relationship at any level with somebody, then it shouldn't be victim of a TCPA, non-compliance type of thing. If there's a personal relationship. If you don't, then yes, you need to be aware of it. And you should be, scrubbing, your, people you don't know database, whatever you want to call it, against a do not call registry. Because it is, unfortunately, I mean, it's intensive to do that, right? But it is a very serious thing when it comes to any sales business this day and age. And it's only going to get worse from here. The concept that what this is going to grow to is a matter of you need to have direct in writing permission to call people, market to people.
Does somebody who comes to an open house and leaves their phone number bypassing that? Like as a lead with not represented?
I would argue that it depends on what your open house sign-in sheet says. If you have on there that, some CYA language to state that this, gives you the permission to follow up, then you should be covered. If you don't, it becomes debatable because that person could be on the do not call list, left their number knowingly and willingly. Well, you call them out of the blue. I mean, it's all just like anything this day and age. It's, who's willing to sue who and what's the authority going to say?
I don't think I've ever seen an open house sign-in sheet that has a CYA on it ever,
I
so to
hear
speak.
you. I
Okay,
hear you. So yeah, I mean, that's an extreme answer to a simple question, but to really, get, especially as newer agents, to get yourself prepared for what's coming is to give context. There's all sorts of new laws that were going to be going into effect this past January. It got delayed in theory till next January, I think. Um, I don't know if it's going to be enacted at that point or not, but we're really moving towards a society where there is like direct consent to communicate with people moving forward. Your job just got harder. Sorry.
Thanks, Jason.
Does that help?
Yeah, no, it does. I just wanted a little clarity. And Shannon's question is
Yep.
good too, because I do get I do use that for my database from open houses. So I might
Listen, sorry. I was gonna say I'm being vague and kind of intimidating on the topic for a reason. Because I want you to be thinking about this stuff and I want you to kind of make sure that you're in a position where you're not doing anything to get yourself fined. Because it's just the way in the world these days. Now, with that said, there's a balance between that and having it lead to too much fear that leads you into inaction and finding a way to go about it effectively. At the end of the day, like start with the people you know. Very low risk of running into a TCPA issue if you're contacting people that you already have a relationship with. If you're branching off or if you're growing your business or expanding outside of that group, yeah, definitely be careful with it. But back to social media and a framework, and I'll send this out, but a framework that uh, KW gives is a like model. So LIKE. L would be local lowdown, they call it. But like this is where you could get into your favorite restaurant, you're, at the Red Wings game, you're walking along the canal and hosting that, and it's your favorite spot to walk or whatever, you're, whatever, all local community related type of stuff, or the community that you live in and sell it, right? So really start inner and then work yourself outward. Like focus on where you live is going to be the easiest way to go about this and find, things to highlight. The I would be information. And this is where, your ability to educate and provide value to your database through social media, through providing relevant information on the real estate market, that's your opportunity to shine. Because you can do that, or don't get me wrong, I'm all for it in terms of posting your new listing or the open house you're hosting, or the buyer that just got under contract and closed, and all that sort of stuff that becomes marketing yourself and your business. Don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to it. You can just be that much more effective when you're marketing your business in a manner that educates and promotes the local community that you're operating. People want to see that and want to be informed, or find something that's cool about the community that you're informing them on. Again, it all counts as like a touch, and it gets their kind of memory fizzling when they see you doing anything at all on social media. But there's a difference between that sort of content and look at me, I just sold a house type of stuff. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying don't have that be the only part of your social media plan. If anything, that's like the sprinkle in type of effect that shows that, yeah, they're providing all this information and they're selling. Like, I know who I'm working with when it's time. So, like, local for L, I for information, K would be know me. So like this is where you can make it about you, but do it in a manner that's personal. I have you'll see models out there that say 80-20 personal versus business. I'm more of like 60-40 at minimum, personal versus business, 60% personal, 40% business. Somewhere along that spectrum is 60-40 to 80-20, either one, but you don't want to be 80-20, 80 business, 20 personal. So the know me part, like, yeah, I mean, get vulnerable, sure. But like, get yourself out there. People want to work with people because people want to, it's relatable. Like, oh yeah, I have a dog. I got kids. Oh, I like playing pickleball too. That's cool. Whatever it's going to be. But just get yourself out there because, you don't want to run the risk of being salesy, right? And you do that through letting people know that you're a real life human that uses social media to do human stuff and not just strictly to sell. You don't, you can fake it. I don't care. Right? Like you can, be forcing yourself to get your personal stuff out there, not really enjoying it, but for the purpose of your sales business. Just as you're forcing yourself to put the sales stuff out there for the purpose of your sales business. Just know that when it's more, about you and you're creating something that people want to work with because you're you and you're human and you can show common interest to other people, like that's a really good formula. The E is engagement. So just finding a way to engage on social media. The 10-5-1 method is most common, right? 10 likes a day, 5 comments a day, one DM, direct message type of thing. But, really whatever it's gonna be, run it through, goals, plans, actions, results, and accountability. What's your goal of using social media for your business? I want to add 10 people to my database this month that I picked up off of social media. Okay, what's the plan to do that? I'm going to do the 10-5-1 method, and I'm going to look for, say, 5 people a week to friend or add or whatever, follow, right? And trying to build that to where it's only, say, half of those will convert to people that you end up getting into your database after they give you their information once asked, stuff like that. Action, doing it, being accountable to do it, follow the plan that you build and be actionable on it. Find out if you're getting the results from it. That's a lifestyle of running a business and a specific strategy for your business versus just the opposite of, kind of winging it, right? To where, social media is on my plan somewhere. And I posted this month, so box checked. Just like anything, this needs consistency to really play out. Got a few minutes here. Anybody got a random question? Or on topic, off topic? What can I help with?
So I got a question regarding like the inspectors and everybody else. Um, how do we meet them? Through through you guys, or do we go out and try to find them, or
I would, for stuff like this, a great source is that Facebook page that you have access to for the brokerage. And to just use the search feature, right? So like searching home inspector would, give you a lot of names that pop up, or you can do a new post of, hey, I'm looking to build my business and looking to meet, a home inspector that I can trust. Who do you recommend? Then you got to wait for the answers that come in. But yeah, I would, that's a great resource for a lot of, like qualified, more vetted types of, referrals on that topic. But it also is a great resource of like just answers to get, generally speaking. I would think of it as like a Google function for your business. Like, let me see what the local KW Rochester agents would say to this, if I can find it. And if it's not on there already and from a recent post, then yeah, post it yourself.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
What do you see, like, the most successful leaders doing? It's not right now.
Consistency.
Consistency.
Consistency to take action on the plan that they've built. So the plan should include, social media aspects that we talked about today. It should include, building the database and communicating with it individually. That's, yeah. There's no magic bullet. The only thing close to a magic bullet is consistency. To lead generate to a database systematically. It's just social media is one of these sort of in the middle topics between lead generation and marketing, in that like it's kind of both. It's like, yes, it's a big marketing play. It's also a big lead generation play. All right. Thanks for jumping on, everybody. We'll do it again.
Thank you.
Contact me anytime if you need anything.
Thank you.